Welcome to Grant Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Rand Kelly to the show. We are going to talk about the band Flash. We're going to talk Peter Banks. We're going to talk Badger. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So let's get ready. This is kind of wild.
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Rand Kelly back to the channel. Tonight we are going to talk about the band Flash. Well, we're going to talk about the band Flash. We're going to talk a little bit Peter Banks. We're going to talk a little bit of Badger. I don't know. We're just going to keep it loose. And the reason we are talking about this band is that we did a listening party a while back, and DC Collins, when he was putting his list together for the show, he had a Flash song on there. In fact, it was the song Lifetime. Okay. And I have to admit, I'm kind of embarrassed, even though, you know, I like a lot of prog, but we can't hear everything. Now, yes, I knew that Peter Banks was in Yes. I have that stuff. I heard it. But I didn't pay attention to his solo catalog or the Flash stuff or anything like that. So Rand will talk about it, but just to get everyone caught up, Peter Banks was in Yes. He got replaced by Steve Howe. He started the band Flash, and these records, I'm really just absolutely so impressed by them. Now, a lot of this, you could say it's like Yes light. You could maybe say it's Yes adjacent. Well, you know, we had Peter Banks who was in Yes, and this is what he did. And you know what it makes me think, right? I'm going, man, if this sounds that much like Yes, how much did Peter Banks have to do with the sound of Yes? Just throwing it out there. Because I was really kind of surprised how these sound. And we're going to just go through the records. Originally, we were going to do a ranking video. And I thought, I tried to go through this catalog and I couldn't rank them. I think that all these records are equally as good. Now, the original band only lasted for 3 albums, and then they broke up after 1973. Okay. They did do a reunion thing. Rand, what year was that? Was that like 2013?
Yeah.
So it was Ray Bennett.
40. They waited.
It was. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. They waited 40 years to do that album.
Yeah. So it's the original bass player Ray Bennett and singer Colin Carter. So
yeah, drummer named Mike Party, and I can't remember somebody Doherty on the keyboards.
This is really good too. It sounds like the band Flash, even though there's no Peter Banks.
That's a heavy album.
It's pretty heavy.
It's kind of like listening to King's X in a way.
Right. But I thought we would just kind of go through the catalog, have Rand talk a little bit about these records, because I think Flash is one of those bands. I think Yes totally outshines Flash, and I think they might be one of those prog bands that kind of, I don't want to say they're pushed to the wayside or anything, but in the Warehouse, we're all about trying to turn you on to stuff, and I think that this is something everyone, if you're a Yes fan, if you like Peter Banks as a guitar player, and we're going to get into that because I think some of his playing on these records, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the guy needs to get way more due than he gets.
Oh, he's so underrated. It's not even fun.
So anyway, that was my intro. I want to welcome Rand to the show. Rand, how are you? Nice to see you.
Good, done good. Did you see my temperature, weather temperature that I sent you?
I don't, maybe.
104 degrees right now outside.
Oh, good. Well, that's what we expect out in sunny California.
Redding, California.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I'm in air conditioned. It's about 80. But okay, so the first album was really surprising for me because, you know, I was in the Air Force in Las Vegas, and I heard this song, this fanfare thing with all this guitar work and stuff, and I thought, oh, wow, Yes has a new tune, because I think this came out before Close to the Edge, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't really get the release dates, you know.
I don't remember.
But I thought it was a new Yes tune until I heard the singer. The singer's name is Colin Carter, as you mentioned. And a lot of people kind of misunderstood his vocal sound. It's nothing like John Anderson. It's much different, but he's doing the same kind of notes in the same area as the Starcastle with Terry Luttrell is the same area too. But he doesn't sound anything like John Anderson. But if you were to compare those two to John Anderson, I would say Terry Luttrell probably sounds more like John Anderson than Colin Carter. Colin Carter's got a really unique voice that doesn't sound like anybody that I know. I mean, his voice is very unique. I don't think anybody sounds like him. So anyways, I found out it was a band called Flash. They did a song called Small Beginnings, and it was on the radio, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And of course, Ray Bennett's playing a Rickenbacker bass, so it sounds like, yes.
Well, he has nailed he sounds just like Chris Squire. I mean, you could close your eyes. He's got it down.
Anyway, let's check this. These album covers are funny. But this is the debut Flash album. And, you know, it's got another Yes alumni on it. Tony Kaye. This just happens to be the keyboard player on this album. And I got a gatefold CD here. This is what that cover looks like fully. But yeah, look at this. This is the inside of the album here. And I believe
a collage of photos.
Where is he? Let me see if I can find Tony Kaye real quick.
Now, what was the story about that, Rand? Was he actually a full member, or was he just playing keyboards on it? What's the story?
Tony Kaye is wearing sunglasses. Looking.
Oh yeah, cool. There he is.
So I don't know, but I did see a couple of different comments on the internet. You know, you can't trust everything you read on the internet. You know, but there. In these days, we thought Tony Kaye was a full-fledged member of the band. In 2024, I'm reading that Tony Kaye wasn't really a full-fledged member of the band. He was invited to play keyboards on the first album as a session player. And when the second album came out in the can the same year, which is another one of these covers, I don't know where they got these ideas, but
I don't know. I thought that they were Hypnosis ones, but I've learned like Hypnosis had something to do with the inside, the photo spreads.
This is called In the Can, and also I'll photo spread this a little bit so you can see what it looks like when you have the. The album was never a gatefold, so if you have this, you would have to buy two albums and turn the other one around. But they decided to take a picture. But see how carefully placed her hair is over her
area.
Expansions. Yes. But anyway, this is Pete always does this. He shows people the booklet. I'm not very good at this, but this is what you get with the one-way CD. There's Peter and his Gibson 335.
There it is.
He used that in Yes a lot. He also used
335 he did?
335. And he also used a Rickenbacker too.
Yeah, I think he had a 330. Yeah, and then Ray's bass is a 20. Ray's bass is a 21 fret, 1971 probably. Yeah, it's maple glow.
He sanded it down. It looks like wings.
Well, I don't think he sanded it down. They made them in maple glow then.
Yeah, but that's not maple glow. It
is. That's maple glow.
Are you sure? I thought it was 100%. Natural.
No, they call it maple glow.
McCartney sanded his down because he had all that.
Yeah, the Beatles went out of their minds and thought, well, let's paint everything psychedelic, and then they decided to take everything off of it.
Yeah, they had,
which was stupid, but whatever.
The only guy that kept the finish was Eric Clapton, but I think Todd Rundgren ended up with that guitar. Come to think of it,
he ended up when he got it from Jackie Lomax. The SG was in very bad condition. A lot of the paint was chipping off of it.
Yeah. Okay. So
and he had it restored.
That's funny you mentioned Jackie Lomax because he is on the second Badger album, the studio album, along with Tony Kaye. And so he was a full-fledged member of Badger, Tony Kaye. It was his band.
Oh, well, Badger was Tony Kaye's band.
We'll get to it.
I thought that there was only really one. I know we're already on a tangent. I thought that there was really only the one Badger album that really is really the Badger album.
The Prog album is live, and it was produced by John Anderson. Yeah. And the guy that's in the band that does all the singing and the guitar playing,
Yeah.
he was in Mabel Greer's toy shop with John Anderson.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he was, well, yeah, I think so. Or no. He was in the Warriors with John Anderson, his first band.
All right.
And John was the lead singer, and David Foster, who is not related to the Chicago producer. We're talking British people here. So
Yeah.
the third
Yeah.
so those two came out, Flash and In the Can. The songs are great. By the way, I just want to say, I was listening to the drumming of Mike Huff or Mike Howe, or however you say his name.
Mhm.
That guy's a monster. You talk about underrated. Nobody talks about Mike Huff.
Well,
The
you
guy-
know what? Yeah, I think he's great. I think the whole band's great. See,
Yeah.
I think what it is about Flash is I think there was a good chemistry between everybody. I know it only lasted a short period of time, but the other thing is I'm not exactly sure why it dissolved. So they only put
Well,
out 3 records. It was only over a 2-year period. What was the reason that the band dissolved?
I don't know. Well, we can find that out. I mean, I don't have my phone with me, but you can look it up on.
Oh, I
here.
just thought, Rand, I just thought maybe you might know off the top of your head.
I
No
really
big deal,
don't.
but I'm just curious.
What?
Anybody in the comments, since we're doing a show, let us know down in the comments why they only lasted for 2 years and only put out 3 records. I'm
Usually
just
stuff
curious.
like that is down to personnel or musical differences.
Mm,
I was going to say, small beginnings on this first album is great, but
mhm.
my God, and I love Children of the Universe very good, but my God, the song on here that stands out above all as a prog masterpiece is called Dreams of Heaven.
Mhm.
12 minutes and 57 seconds of just absolute bliss. If you're into prog, you got to get this record.
Like I said, that's why we're doing this show because I was so taken by it. Now, there's always going to be a lot of Yes comparisons. Okay, I get that. It's very Yes-like, but you know what? You've got people that were in Yes in this band. So what do you expect?
You got 2 ex-Yes members on the first Flash album. That's an automatic buy. All the Yes fans bought that album.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Probably this one too. And this one, it has a bonus track called Watch Your Step, which isn't on the original album. I was checking it out on Apple Tunes, and they don't even put the bonus track on there.
Well, when you get the Friday the twofer, we were talking about this before we went live. I've got the twofer, which has the first album and the third album on one CD, and that came out on Friday Music. There are no bonus tracks on that. So if you have the one way, you get a little bit extra, I think. But
I'm talking about the second album.
Right. Okay. Oh, yeah. I've got that. Yes.
So Watch Your Step was never on the original album. Like I have it on LP, and they added that on there. And that's a really cool tune, and it's not very long, but it's real progressive. It's very different. And then they have a single edit of Lifetime. I'll get into that later.
No, that's all right. You can. But people are used to us going on tangents, Rand. You're okay. Just talk.
I'm going to show Out of Our Hands. This came out in 1973. Now this is another weird cover because I don't know who that is, and I think they're naked. But
well, maybe
later, Yes puts out Going for the One. Naked butt on the cover.
I think wasn't the story about that Banks was a little bit kind of PO'd because it said Flash featuring Peter Banks.
Yeah, that is. I always thought it was weird.
I thought it was weird.
It says Flash featuring England's Peter Banks.
Yeah.
Out of Our Hands. And I thought that was his idea because
I
I
think
thought,
the record company did it because the solo album came out and they're
well,
trying to push that.
I'll show that next because I don't know which one came out first. But you got to remember, he put this out the same year Yes puts out Tales from Topographic Oceans. And
Mhm.
Emerson Lake and Palmer puts out Brain Salad Surgery. And Genesis puts out Selling by the Pound, Selling England by the Pound. So they got, he was in good company at the time. This is kind of a weird album. Like I just listened to it today, and it's supposed to be some sort of a concept album, about chess and stuff. But
Yeah, I couldn't really, I couldn't make out what the concept
the
was.
only tunes I really like are the last three. Psycho Sync is killer. Manhattan Morning, Christmas 72 is really good. And Shadows, It's You. Those are really good. And the thing is, they redid Manhattan Morning on the Comeback Flash album in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that in a second. Oh my God, that's on SEMA.
Uh,
I always heard that SEMA was bad for the Gentle Giant they put out was horrible.
no, the one was they pulled the wrong tapes for it.
Yeah, didn't have
They
any
pulled
treble.
the quad masters, and then
Yeah, it
they
didn't have treble on it. It sounded weird. Okay, so then Peter
SEMA's just the
Canadian.
licensing division. No, that's just the licensing division of Capitol.
Oh, I thought that was Canadian.
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, it's on One Way, but it says Capitol Records 1973, and then it says 1993 SEMA Special Marketing.
Yeah, it's just Capitol's thing.
Okay, so then Peter the same year puts out Two Sides of Peter Banks, which is really weird looking picture there. And one guy's like a rock star, and the other guy's a businessman. It's kind of like what Rush did on Hemispheres, if you think about it. Look at the musicians. I don't know if you can read that list there, but incredible.
I know John Wetton's on it. You've got
Hackett,
some of the Flash guys are on it.
Phil Collins, all of Flash except for Tony Kaye. Of course, he probably wasn't a full member because he doesn't play again with Peter Banks.
Mm.
He doesn't come back into the thing. But yeah, Jan Ackerman from Focus, Steve Hackett, John Wetton, Steve Hackett, and by the way, they misspelled Wetton's name on here. They put an H in there where it doesn't belong. And Phil Collins and Peter Banks are all on the same track, and it's called Nights with a K.
So how does that record compare to the Flash material?
I can't remember much about it. I was listening to it just before I came online with you,
Mhm.
and I didn't get a chance to really get into it, but I'll show you the goodies in here. It's another One Way.
Yeah, I
So-
think that got a release on Esoteric too. But I looked that one up on Discogs, and
Gatefold
obviously it's out of print and it was expensive. So
Okay, so this is a gatefold album, and that if you buy the LP, that's in the center of the gatefold. It's kind of
That's
like a
cool.
rock star's, and you can see Peter holding his arm around his girlfriend.
mhm.
I think that might be the same lady that he's with on the Empire stuff, Sydney Fox, but I'm not sure. But anyways, that's that. And this is great. I think this is an absolute masterpiece. I remember liking it way more than Out of Our Hands.
Oh, see, you said you only like the last 4 tracks.
On Out of Our Hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it just kind of, I mean, it's prog, but it's
Well, it's kind of folky.
it's jointed. It doesn't, I don't feel a connection with the songs because it's changed. Believe it or not, I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
It changes too many ways. It changes too much, and they don't, like Pete's always says something like, it didn't work. It doesn't work. And I understand that now listening to that album. There's parts of it that just, I don't get it. Musically, I mean, I took music theory and everything. Peter Banks is an amazing guitar player.
Mhm.
He's got the volume pedal swells down to an art, I was going to say before, Steve Howe was a fan of Peter Banks before he joined Yes. He liked the way he played, and they both sound like Wes Montgomery 50% of the time. I mean, they're both into that jazzy stuff. He does a lot of jazz on these albums. Jazzy type clean
Mhm.
guitar, that's why he's got that big box guitar, that 335. But anyways, yeah, if you can get this, get it
Huh?
because
I'm
it's
working on it.
masterpiece.
But Out of Our Hands, I liked Out of Our Hands. I can't rank the Flash catalog because I
Not
like
really,
all these albums
but
differently.
I'm not really trying to rank it, but I just didn't. I didn't feel like the last, like anything before the last three songs really grabbed me.
Mhm.
You know, and that's where I was going with that. But it's not bad. There's nothing really wrong with it.
Well, Ray Collins pretty much wrote the whole thing most, I mean, Ray Collins. I mean, yeah.
You're too into Zappa.
I've been doing all those damn Zappa shows.
No, I loved it. The Grand
But
Wazoo,
Bennett,
Waka Jawaka.
pretty much wrote the whole thing.
Yeah, and here,
Open Sky is Peter Banks, but that's about it.
so we're going to go into this band, One Live Badger, Roger Dean art, and John Anderson produces, or they say co-produces. No, it says
Did he-
produced by John Anderson,
Mhm.
Jeffrey Haslam, and Badger. Okay.
What
So
year? So this came out.
this is okay. I'll tell
This
you.
70. What year is this?
This is, hang on, can't see it. This is 1973. So the
Okay.
same year that Peter's doing Out of Our Hands, they debut with a live album, Badger. And it's really good. And that's Tony
Oh, it's
Kaye.
great.
And he uses Mellotron and Moog, which is the reason he got fired out of Yes, because he didn't want to use Mellotron and Moog. I think that's a cover story. Because he's always said, if you listen to the Yes album, there's some mini Moog on there. You can hear it.
I thought he was just a big Hammond guy.
Perpetual Change, Starship Trooper, there's Moog on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here is the stuff.
Not
so
much going on in there.
So it just says keyboards, but when you listen to it, but that's pretty ballsy move, don't you think? To open up to debut your first album live.
It's kind of a. I wonder if they thought that this was going to be like a one-off. But it looks great. It's got great Roger Dean cover art.
Yeah, one-off Badger. But there is a second album which I don't own called White Lady, and Jackie Lomax took over the band because the record company wanted him to sing lead. So not Colin Carter, the guy that sings for Badger, who I think it was Dave Foster, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see it again. It doesn't even say who sings. Really, it just says Tony Kaye keyboards, Brian Parrish lead guitar, Dave Foster bass guitar, Roy Dyke drums, but it doesn't say who's singing. So I don't know. One way.
I know, but I just recently got this, so I haven't really dived too much into it. But what I've listened to it, this
really
is
good.
really great.
It's kind of like Uriah Heep, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's got the heavy organ and stuff.
Well, I like it better than Uriah Heep.
On this, I do.
I think Tony Kaye's work on it sounds really good. His keyboards sound great. He's such a good player too. No one really gives Tony Kaye the due that he should receive.
This guitar player Brian Parrish is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I never heard of him ever since, or I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, he might be. So apparently that band went on to do White Lady, and Jeff Beck does a solo on the title cut called White Lady, and Tony Kaye's on that album. So they did put out a studio album, but none of these songs are on it. These songs can only be gotten on this album.
Yeah, it's a must-have.
The only other person that I ever remember doing that was Rick Wakeman when he released Journey to the Center of the Earth, brand new tunes live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then after that, Peter got involved with this chick named, sorry, bad term, with this lady named Sydney Fox and some other guys, and put out a band called Empire. Well, I heard many, many, many times from many, many people that Empire 2 and Empire 3 weren't worth getting. So I just got the first one because it's the most prog, I guess. But yeah, I mean, John Giblin on bass, he's well known from session work. Phil Collins plays drums and backing vocal. Help from Phil Collins, it says, and other people that you don't know.
Is Ray Bennett on that? I thought he was on there too.
No, it's Peter Banks, Sidney Fox, Jacob Magnuson, John Giblin, and Preston Ross Heyman. Preston Ross Heyman on drums. I never heard of any of these people.
Well, I guess
John Giblin I know because he plays fretless.
But I guess the story was they recorded this record, shopped it around, and couldn't get a deal. Remained shelved all those years until one way, whenever they were putting out all this Banks material.
Yeah, because it all it says is One Way on it. There's no other record company on there.
It never came out anywhere.
This is not great, but it's okay. But again, we're going in chronological order. Then I got what year was this? I think Peter Banks' second solo album was called Instinct, and he pretty much just does everything on here. He's a one-man band on this. Yeah, produced, arranged, composed, and performed by Peter Banks, 1993.
Yeah, it was such a huge time span between records.
This is really good album. I mean, it's definitely worth listening to. I wouldn't call it a prog album, but it is good rock. But he's such a great guitar player. You can't go wrong, really. Here's another picture of him here. Taking a picture of you.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. And there's one over here too with these statue people. So yeah, this is 1993. So he was doing really good. And let's see, we got thanks for the equipment, credits and stuff like that. But yeah, he did everything by himself. And on the thank you list, there's nothing about Yes.
Well, he's probably pissed still.
This album was recorded using an Ibanez Gem guitar and the remarkable Zoom 9002, thanks to all at Ibanez and Zoom.
What's a Zoom?
It's the company that makes all these guitar effects. I used to have a Zoom.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, they still make them. I mean, I just bought. Look, this.
But he's playing a Steve Vai Ibanez. Then
now they make recording studios. I just bought this 24-track recording. See, Zoom. But they started out making guitar effects. They were really good and they were really cheap. Digital effects. About the size of a bread basket. No, I mean, really small. Like that studio wasn't very big. Okay, so that's that Instinct. That's called good album. It's on HTD Records, it's a British import, of course. I don't know how much it's worth or how much it costs or anything. And then the last one, like you said, was the 2013 Flash reunion album after Peter died. So this Colin Carter's here on the Telecaster, and this is Ray Bennett on the Stratocaster, but he also plays bass. He plays fretless bass. He plays keyboards. He's all over this thing. He does.
And the bass stuff on that sounds just like the bass stuff on the earlier Flash stuff.
Killer bass. And there's a picture of him live.
You know what? I'm going to throw this out while I'm thinking of it. Did he ever do anything with Yes or anybody within the Yes franchise other than work with Peter Banks? Because if I was going to hire somebody to replace Chris Squire, it would be him.
Of anybody that he worked with that was in Yes would have been Billy Sherwood. Because Billy Sherwood does those Prog Collective things that he's been doing for years and years and years. And that is the end of my show and tell.
But Ray Bennett is very...
Guys, his guitar playing is unbelievable. I didn't know he could play
his songwriting, he can do it all.
But
and I'm just surprised he didn't do anything with Yes.
He's using a lot of effects on his guitar too. I would think, if I wasn't mistaken, I would think he's using something like this, like a guitar synthesizer on a lot of that stuff, because his tones are just outrageous on that album.
Well, I know Peter Banks, at least on Out of Our Hands, is using an ARP guitar
Yeah,
synth
yeah, and on the
because
first, go ahead.
once Tony Kaye left, they really didn't have much keyboards. And I was going to bring it up when you're listening to Flash in the Can. What I like about Flash as opposed to Yes is that there's always a lot going on a Yes track, right? This is like if you take Yes and you open it up some more, there's a lot more breathing room within Flash. So if you do like that Chris Squire type of bass playing, you're going to dig this because it's very pronounced, very upfront. And the interplay between Ray and Peter Banks, I think, on these records, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, yeah. I think the first album in the can are
Yeah.
inter intertwined. They're just like peanut butter and jelly.
But
Out of Our
you
is
think,
good.
but if you look like Rand, if you listen to Flash in the Can, you don't really miss any of the keyboards.
No, because for one thing, Peter does add some ARP synthesizer on that, but it's real subtle and it's very,
Subtle.
very
It's
subtle and
really a guitar record, guitar
yeah.
bass record. It's not like where everyone knows there's so much keyboards. This is really
What do you think of the drum?
minimalistic but top notch.
What did you think of the drum solo called "Stop That Banging"?
I thought it was unbelievable. What a oh
It's weird though. I mean,
well,
nobody does
yeah,
that.
but it's hey, whatever. It's 2 minutes of drums. I think it's fine. Well, could
Yeah,
that be considered filler? Well, maybe.
sounds like the kind of stuff I do.
Sounds like Rand's music. But I'm just saying, I don't have a problem with it. I can't rank them. I like all three of the original Flash albums easily the same. I know that sounds weird, but each one has something special to it. The first one's got Tony Kaye on it. That's great. Even though I will probably have to say I would probably rank the second album a bit higher just because I like the openness, the interplay, the guitar. There's no keyboards. It's a guitar record. And I
Yeah,
do like that. But Out of Her Hands, I think is just fine. Yeah, it's a concept record. Yeah, probably a loose concept album, but I kind of like it. You've got some folky tracks like Man of Honor. You've got banjo. Of course, there's banjo on Flash in the Can. And I wrote on my notes, I said Ray
ukulele.
Collins,
There's ukulele
killer,
on the can.
ukulele.
He plays ukulele, and then the banjo shows up on "Out of Our Hands."
But
I
I like
noticed.
it. I don't have a problem with any of it. I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know you're not quite as taken with Out of Our Hands, but I think it's brilliant.
Well, I just because I hadn't heard it in so long, I've had the LP forever.
Right.
I bought it used at the Works, before Mike Patton was starting to work there. I used to go in there a lot, But
Hmm.
yeah, this one is the one I've listened to the least. So it
I think
wasn't,
it's great.
maybe I didn't give it a fair listen, but it just felt like the first five tracks today just kind of left me like, huh? But that could have just been me.
But Man of Honor with that banjo intro,
To criticize Peter Banks
it's good.
is silly because the guy is just so excellent.
Hmm.
It wasn't a thing about the reason he left. It had nothing to do with disabilities because he has the abilities. There's no doubt about it.
Oh,
I
no
mean,
doubt, no doubt.
I mean that's my favorite cover tune of all time is their version of Day Tripper. I'm not Day Tripper, excuse me. Every Little Thing, which
Mhm.
he does throw in Day Tripper before they start singing. But that version's amazing. I mean, the Beatles must have heard that and went, "Holy crap! How did they do that?"
But this, I prefer his playing on here because there's more open space.
Yeah, yeah, and he got better.
He
He
got
always got
better.
so the more his career goes, he just gets better.
Right.
Like I would think if like you're limited on finances and wanted to get like the best Peter Banks album you could get, I'd get this. This is phenomenal. That's how he was able to get these guys. I mean, Jan Ackerman from Focus, Phil Collins, Steve Hackett, John Wetton. Amazing. And Ray
Yeah, but
Bennett.
they probably knew him, and though from the Sin, and
Met three members of well, yeah, they were all in the same.
they were
Well,
probably on the same circles to some
I
degree.
think Hackett and Wetton were probably not quite. They were probably a little younger, but because Hackett doesn't even come around into the scene until Nursery Crimes, and that was 1971.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mean to say crimes, so don't jump on me for that.
Everyone, calm down. It's okay.
I just had an S on the end just because that's the way my mouth went.
So you're saying that if anybody's trying to get into this Peter Banks stuff, I know we're trying to. This is the Flash show, but we're all over it tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm saying after you buy the 3 Flash albums with Peter Banks on them, and you want more, instead of going to like Empire or Instinct, I would get 2 sides of Peter Banks because this is the Prog album.
I agree. But
Awesome.
the whole reason for this show is just I was just so taken by it. When I heard Lifetime it was like one of those moments I'm going, is this a long lost Yes track?
That's DC Collins' favorite song by Flash.
Yeah. It's all his fault. So then I went there and I dived in. I went, oh my God, I got to get the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was just one of those moments. This might be next to Yes. This might be my second favorite prog band.
Well, I think Dreams of Heaven is their best song. I listened to that today and I just went, I couldn't believe how complex that tune is.
And I know I keep repeating myself, but golly, the instrumentation and the guitar bass interplay on these records, phenomenal. And Peter Banks is a guitar player. I'm sorry if I keep saying it. I love his guitar playing. He's so inspired and tasty, and he plays exactly what the song entails. He does
a lot of arpeggios too. He'll take chords and run arpeggios all the way up the neck in that chord. And he's really good at it. And then he'll use a volume pedal and it'll go like that. And then he uses a lot of wah-wah too. He's very into wah-wah. He's very into volume pedal. He also uses Leslie a lot because he used Leslie a lot in the first the first 2 Yeses too. The beginning of Time and a Word is him playing through a Leslie.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to that again.
Where it goes, dan, dan, dan,
oh yeah.
That's all Leslie. And so is that Traveler, the vocals. They put the vocals through a Leslie.
And that made me think of it. When you mentioned Starcastle, I'm going to mention this real quick. I'll give a future plug that Randy and I have a show in the works where we're going to look at the albums of Starcastle. And that came from doing that show on Sea of Tranquility. And I hate to say this. I sound like such a novice, but I was aware of Starcastle. Of course, I've heard a couple of things, but I had not heard the catalog. And I know Rance always spoke very highly of it. I know we've played some Starcastle on here in the past, but I never jumped down that rabbit hole. Okay. Well, I jumped down the rabbit hole. And some of that stuff, the playing on those records, the production, Terry Luttrell's vocals. You're thinking of REO Speedwagon. It's totally different.
It's like a different guy. It's
like a different guy.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say, if you listen to the first REO Speedwagon album, and then put on the first Starcastle, what year did that first REO come out?
That's like, wasn't it like 70? God, was that 71, 72?
That early. So here
Riding the Storm out, I think 73. I think 71.
So here in 76, the first Starcastle comes out, and the first thing you hear him sing is Lady of the Lake, and he sounds nothing like REO Speedwagon. I talked to him about it on Facebook because we used to communicate a lot on Facebook.
Oh, really?
say, I listened to the first REO album. You don't sound anything. And he's going, yeah, like I haven't heard that a million times.
1971 first REO album came out.
I think, 5 years later, I think he was told, you need to sound like John Anderson if you really want this band to make it. Because yes, it's going in a completely different direction. And now we could do this, because when they put that album out, Yes was releasing the solo albums like Fish Out of Water and Elias of Snow and Patrick Moraz Eye and the Steve Howe album. And, I mean, not Steve Howe album, but Beginnings. And what was Alan Ramshackled,
which is a great record.
Yeah. So they're doing that. And then Starcastle comes out and says, hey, what happened in 1972, boys?
Well, yeah. The funny thing is, I know we're on a tangent, but let's just go with it real quick. The fact that Starcastle came out in 1976 seems kind of late in the game, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I think that album should have came out in 73, but they just weren't ready. They were together that early. They just couldn't get a record contract with Epic that early. They were playing around. They're from
are they St.
Louis?
They're from St. Louis.
They're from St. Louis, Missouri, I think. And they were playing around that area, all around the Midwest and stuff. And then all of a sudden, this Starcastle album shows up on the record rack, and it's like, that looks really cool. That's got to be a prog album. Come on, and you look on the back, and it's synthesizer, guitar, two guitar players, synthesizer player, drummer, singer.
Yeah, but you look at that first Boston album, that looks like it could be a prog record.
But the thing is, with me, I didn't know about the first REO Speedwagon album. I'd seen it, and it was there in tracks, but it didn't dawn on me. The name Terry Luttrell didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know anything about him being in that band. So I found that out much later, actually.
But the whole Starcastle thing, just to give a tease to everybody, I guess, they've really had kind of a short career as far as, I mean, they only put records out from 76 to 78, and that 78 album, you wouldn't think it's the same band.
Yeah, and then they had a short comeback in 2007 with Song of Times, which is brilliant. Absolute masterpiece of an album. But the lead singer, Terry Luttrell, is only singing on one song, and the rest of it is a guy named Al Lewis, who is not Grandpa Munster.
I was thinking, are you Grandpa Munster's on that?
Yeah. He was in a band called Alaska, and that's really proggy.
Alaska, yeah.
You can get that. Greg Walker's selling that on Amazon. I've been thinking about buying it, but I want to listen to it. I heard it online, and I want to hear it again. But Al Lewis is great. He's a good singer for that stuff, and that was Gary Strader's project, but he died of cancer before it was finished, so that they had to finish up the album, later after he passed away. And Annie Haslam does some artwork on that album cover too. And we'll talk about that on the 27th. That's going to be in the 27th.
Yeah, we'll be doing that pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen, so tune into that. But yeah, Starcastle, I was very impressed, needless to say. Yeah, is it Yes adjacent? Yes. It's like the US, it's the United States version of Yes, so to speak. But I guess they filled that void.
Well, there's a lot of them, though. I mean, you could talk about Yes de Urfa. They sound a lot like Yes, but they're wacky. They're more like Gentle Giant wacky. And but vocally, they do have the Yes sound. A lot of those bands have that sound. And it's funny. Yes, on their first album, they're doing Crosby, Stills, and Nash type harmonies. And they're doing that stuff like stuff like that. That was not, Yes didn't really invent that.
Well, the other thing I do want to mention, though, if you are a fan of harmonies and stuff, and those Yes harmonies, come on, that vocal blend. This is what I liked about Yes, is that you had that vocal blend. Steve, I guess Steve Howe added to it, but Chris Squire and John Anderson, there was something about their vocal blend And I guess Steve Howe, though I think Steve Howe by himself is absolutely horrible. But when they all sang together and
Went
his,
down low under the bottom chord.
I guess he just kind of, yeah, I
You can
guess
do
it
the.
worked.
Have you ever heard of an album called Esquire?
Yeah.
I have three Esquire albums, and that's Nikki Squire's band, the ex wife of Chris Squire. They divorced very early on. She is great.
Mm.
That lady can sing, and those Esquire albums sound a lot like Yes,
Oh,
especially
check 'em out.
The debut from 1987 is really really good. And then they have one after that called Coming Home, and I forgot the third one. I can't think of the title right now, but yeah.
See, I
Yeah,
went on such a tangent, Rand, that now I forgot what my
we're
original
just
point was.
spiraling all over the Yes family tree, kind of.
Jesus. I was going to say I was talking about Yes and their vocal harmonies. If you listen to Flash, there's a lot of great harmonies on
Oh yeah,
here. Great vocal blend between
especially when they
everybody.
do things like oh ooga ooga
Mhm.
oh ooga ooga, and there's three voices doing that in harmony. It's pretty cool.
So anyway, I just wanted to do this show, bring Rand on the channel, talk a little Peter Banks, talk a little Flash, just because I was so taken with it that it's more like a Peter Banks show, I guess, but I don't know. I think Flash is really the star of the discussion because those records are so good, and I just think everybody should check them out. Just talk a bit about it and let us know in the comments below. Do you like those records? Do you have the Peter Banks solo record? Let us know what you like. I'm always interested.
Oh
I'll look at
yeah,
all the comments. So
it'd be great to hear fans of the Peter Banks Two Sides Banks, because that's
mm,
not a very well known album,
yeah.
and it does sound like Flash because you've got three members of Flash on it, and the only person that's not there is Tony Kaye.
Yeah, I think Tony was a minor player. No, nothing against Tony Kaye.
God no.
But when
I
we'd
love
lost him, I don't think we'd lost anything on the other material. It's just
Yeah,
as strong.
I came to realize he wasn't on in the can. I always thought they just mixed him really low, and I'm going, I don't hear any organ.
No, there's hardly any keyboards on it, which is kind of, I
Most
guess that's what I was trying to say before. It was kind of refreshing, keeps things very open, you
Well,
know?
Peter builds up these chords with these arpeggios and stuff where you don't really need a rhythm guitar in the background. It's like he's just I don't know. He's like a painter. He's painting
Mhm.
these beautiful landscapes with his guitar. Just amazing. I mean,
Well put. Well put.
Steve Howe is my favorite guitar player, trust me, but oh my God, I adore
I
Peter
don't
Banks.
know. Peter
Great.
Banks is up there. After I've listened to this Flash stuff, I have a totally,
Well, look at it this way. Steve joins the band and they're still doing songs from the first two albums. And Steve just, plays it with respect to Peter Banks. I mean, I've seen him do Time and a Word a whole bunch of times, and he always pays respect to the very same notes that Peter Banks plays. I mean, it's like playing classical music. That's how much respect it is.
yeah, I'd be interested to see. Oh, I mean, this is just throwing it out there. What would have Yes been like had Peter Banks continued on with that?
I thought of that 2 hours ago. I was sitting on my bed next door, and I was thinking, what if Peter Banks never left? Yes, I
What
don't
would have
think
happened?
I don't think Tales from Demographic Oceans would have happened,
No.
because I mean,
Well,
have you
that's a
ever
Steve
thought
Howe
about
record, pretty much.
you ever thought about what happens if Bill Bruford doesn't leave and they want to show him Tales? He would have been out the door. So I'm not going to play that.
You think he would have done that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've never heard him
What
say anything.
about it? What do you think he would?
He's never
Why
said
would you?
anything good about Tales from Demographic Oceans. He hasn't said anything bad about it,
Well,
but
you probably never heard it.
well, nobody's ever. Oh, he's heard it. But what I'm
Maybe
saying is,
he was out of the band. Why would he care?
let me
He's
tell you
gone. He
something.
left.
This is a little trivia. I was watching him do an interview the other day, this brand new interview, and I'm looking on his shelf behind him, and he's got that Yes flight box that I've got which
Mhm.
is the Union tour for 30 discs. And I haven't even listened to any of it. I've had it like 5 years or so, 3 years.
You're probably not missing much.
Rick Wakeman is the one that talked me into getting it because he did an advertisement for it.
I
So
didn't think Rick Wakeman was into that
Bruford
record.
bought that because he's on it. He's on the Union tour. That's
He
probably
got
why he bought
that
it.
free. That's a promo. You know
Probably
he got
got
it
that
free.
free.
They all got one.
We don't know.
We know that.
Hey, listen to this. I told you this story already. Remember, Lee
Well,
Dorman in Captain Beyond
yeah.
wasn't given a Captain Beyond CD that I had.
Oh yeah, because you talked to him.
Yeah, and he signed the booklet
You said, "Oh, I didn't know this was out."
grudgingly. He was giving me well, I didn't get one of those. I didn't even know it was out. So I'm looking at him like, sorry.
The ones I've got are on Capricorn, but they're the Japanese, the first pressing when they first came out in Japan.
Mine's the Japanese Atlantic, Pony
Okay.
Canyon. Pony Canyon.
Yeah, I think mine's Capricorn though.
Japanese?
Yeah, it's Japanese.
Well, anyways, that's the one.
I don't know which one I've got. I didn't. I could have pulled it had I.
Now we're really on a tangent because nobody in this band was in. Oh, wait a minute. There is a connection, kind of. There's a British guy on Captain Beyond.
All right, there's a
Rod,
British guy in it.
yeah, Rod Evans. So that at least that puts us in England. England's Rod Evans.
Because we were really getting out there.
Talk about where are they now? That guy, he hid away.
All right.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these albums. I showed
No.
8 albums. Empire, I would put last as far as number 8 out of these 8 albums, just because I don't think it's an absolute prog album. But if you really enjoy Peter Banks's playing, it's worth listening to. Now I should listen to Empire 2 and Empire 3 someday just to see.
I think Empire 2 only has like 4 tracks. I think they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel
it could be
of those studio tracks. Is what I'm thinking.
It could be. I've got a box set back here called Gentle Giant Scraping the Barrel, and it's 5 hours of them just trying to find their way through their songs, and I can't do it.
Rand, I had that CD. I couldn't sit through it. I thought I was going to lose my mind. I gave it away. I thought, well, talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well, they tell you.
I know, but you can't sit through it.
No. It's like, how many times can you listen to Pet Sounds sessions? I heard it once.
Well, I've heard it a lot. The Smile ones I can listen to over and over again.
Oh yeah, Smile's great. But we're really getting off on a tangent now.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this dog up. All right. So like I said, the whole idea was to talk Flash. Of course, Randy and I get together and we just talk stuff. But anyway, the whole idea is for you to go out, listen to these records, listen to the Peter Banks solo record, listen to any of those Flash albums, report back into the Warehouse. We want to hear from you because Rand and I do think that these are brilliant. It's brilliant stuff. Peter Banks is just, no one talks Peter Banks for God's sakes, and he deserves more than he gets.
And you know, I gotta say, Small Beginnings is the way to open up that album and that band to the public. And when Colin Carter starts singing, "In the morning when you start your day," and he doesn't sound anything like John Anderson.
No.
But that bass,
but it works. It works, though. It works.
That album kills.
It kills.
If I was gonna rank them just for fun, I would just tell you this. Here we go. Here's how I'd rank them.
Okay.
Hang on.
If I'm gonna have to rank, I can rank, but
hang on.
It's hard for me to rank.
I messed up for a second here. Hang on. Okay. All right. Here's the ranking I would go. Okay. 4. 3. 2. 1.
And mine's slightly different.
Okay.
Because I would go 4, and then I would go Out of Our Hands, and then I would go to.
I'll put up the props for you.
All right. out of our hands. Then I would go to the debut, and then I would go in the can.
Okay, that's good.
Because I just love how open in the can is. I just love it.
The bottom line is there's no bad flash.
No bad flash, no.
And there's a few live albums out there that you can get too. If you want to hear what they were like in concert back in '73, they did some shows and they did record them.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I haven't heard those.
I think some might be better than others. You might want to go on YouTube and do some experimenting before you lay out your hard-earned cash.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all out there. You can find it. But what, you want to play something?
Want me to play a sound?
Play a sound, then we're going to wrap it up. You get ready. I'm going to wrap it up. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is what Rand and I talk Flash. If you like these records, please let us know. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, for God's sakes. I don't have a Patreon or anything. I do like donations. Donos are always good. But Rand and I will be back later this month, and we will be looking at the Starcastle catalog.
Going to be week from this Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but when I get it up, I don't know. Just depends. This I'm going to get up pretty damn soon.
When we do our record. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I don't know. We could go live. You never know. We might go live on that one.
That would be fun. I'd like to do that.
All right, we can go live with Starcastle. So, all right, there you go. Play something, Rand, and then we'll wrap this dog up. See, your mic, your iPad just shuts it off. It filters it out for some reason.
That's what happened when I was trying to do the Mellotron on for Pete on the laptop. Same thing. I guess I'll have to use the phone.
I don't know. It's something about.
Phone will be fine.
Yeah, weird. I don't know what it is. So there, you didn't hear anything, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Rand, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you on Starcastle. Well, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see you, and thanks a lot.